Hello and welcome back to ReCall The Midwife. We are a fan podcast and we watch an episode and then talk about it. Today we're talking about Series 10, Episode 2. I'm Becky.
I'm Alex.
I'm Jen. A reminder that this week's episode deals with terminal illness, death and dying, infidelity, complicated birth, adoption, poverty, and homelessness. So if those topics are ones you would prefer to skip, we understand and hope you join us for the next one. In this week's episode, Trixie is still at Lady Emily's and is surprised when Mr. and Mrs. Aylward return because Mrs. Aylward is ill. Testing reveals she, Fiona, has an acute form of leukemia, and in the meantime, Trixie asks to observe a routine D&C, which confirms her fear that the maternity home is also providing illegal abortions. Trixie tells Sister Julienne, which ends the possible solution to save Nonna's house, but when Trixie turns in her notice, she spends her last week caring for the Aylwards through Fiona's death and the beginning of Matthew's grief. Sister Frances finds herself in a tough situation when she begins caring for Mrs. O'Malley, a pregnant mom who reveals she had a fling while her husband was at sea and is now concerned about delivering and putting her baby up for adoption before he gets home so he doesn't find out about her infidelity. He comes back too soon, however, and Sister Frances helps the couple while growing in her own life experience. Meanwhile, Cyril and Lucille help a family recently evicted from their home and made homeless, and when Fred and Violet get involved too, it helps shed new light on what it means to support your community. Phew, girls, what an episode. But also, I know our listeners heard us last week, but it's 2025. Can you believe it? We're here.
2025 for quite a while. It's been quite 2025 for quite a while because I've put these for February, so we're actually recording this very early January. In fact, it's actually the first episode of Call The Midwife tonight. If you want a bit of BTS behind the scenes,
Whoa.
The actual new series. It's on in silence behind. I'm not actually watching it, but I kind of am just to see who's in it and stuff. Yeah.
Well, listeners, by the time you're listening to this, it's February, but for us, it's the beginning of the 5-year-long month known as January. Every single year that is interminably long. Sorry, Max, what were you gonna say?
Also, I must confess, I watched the Christmas special today because I didn't get a chance to watch it on Christmas Day and Boxing Day. And
what do you think?
Well, I watched it twice because I loved it.
Okay, well, don't say anything because I haven't seen it yet.
What is you're on a flaming Call The Midwife podcast, you two? Where's your commitment? I'm there live tweeting on the day from our account.
I know. I will watch it tonight with my mom, I promise. We just have not had that much time. It's just been a crazy, crazy holiday.
Well,
we're here, my family.
I loved it, and I'd actually rather talk about that today. And because I watched this episode yesterday, when Jen did the synopsis and she was like, this episode deals with a terminal illness, I was like, oh my God, who's terminally ill?
Bex. Well, can we just have a quick, I know, again, our listeners already have had us back for a week, but can we just do a quick, now that we got through our holiday, how are we doing? How are we feeling about this year? Just super fast, just a quick check-in, just for our peeps out there who are so sweet to listen to us. Also because I just want to know in general for my own nosiness about you too.
I am so grateful to have a routine again. I don't do well without a routine.
Yeah, fair. I just turned into a sloth person. That's what I've come to figure out about myself. Without form and shape to my life, everything falls away. I just turn into a human blob.
It's just such a strange time between Christmas and New Year.
Yeah, well, it's been weirder for me this year because normally I'm a bit more, I do more things, I book more things, I go and do more, I go out on these walks where you go and have lights everywhere. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, well, you're the opposite of a sloth person, Alex. You're so motivated and outgoing.
This year I've not been.
Pre-Christmas, pre-Christmas you do all that stuff. But it's just such a strange time. I started my period on Christmas Day. Merry Christmas to me.
Oh, God. I had my period the week before and it was and it was just ending, and I was just bloated as heck.
Well, I was just really emotional. I just cried a lot.
Oh, Beth.
Oh, no.
Well, no, just anything would the slightest thing would just trigger me.
Call The Midwife Christmas special.
I should have done. Oh, I just loved, you know what I loved in the Call The Midwife Christmas special? Jeffrey.
Oh.
Yeah. I love Jeffrey, but let's not talk about him. Let's talk about Wicked, because Wicked's come out I bought it for meeting Bob.
How many times have all of us seen Wicked? Alex,
3 times. 3 times since January the 3rd, and it's now the 5th.
Me, I've seen it twice. Bex, how many times have you seen it?
I've not seen it.
You need to get it.
I knew you hadn't seen it, but I just thought it'd be funny if we all
what's going to happen is when I see Bex next, we'll watch it on my account.
And she'll be like, I love it! She'll be like, I love it.
Bex,
I want to say, there was a Call The Midwife link in the film of Wicked.
Okay.
So do you remember there was that mum who gave birth on her knees in the gravel, and she didn't want to give birth at home at Christmas with
Wait, was she outside the phone box?
Yes.
Yeah.
She was in.
Wait, what?
She was literally just a mother giving birth. She wasn't a main character.
Well, she was, because she had a massive blood blister on her vagina.
Wait. Wait a minute. Are you talking about Wicked or are you talking about Call the Midwife?
Both.
No, that didn't happen in Wicked, Jen.
No. But I'm saying, I thought you were saying, in the movie Wicked, there's a mom in the movie.
No. There's a girl who's a pupil who's best friends with Ariana Grande, Glinda, in the film. She was in Call the Midwife as the mum.
Okay. But in Call the Midwife, this actress was a mom who had birth.
Yeah, and they brought in the wrapping paper for her to the hospital.
Oh. Why do I not remember any of this?
And how do you even recognize her, Alex? That's insane.
Because I do a podcast on Call the Midwife. Do you know, I'm pretty into it. Do you know what I mean?
Well, wait, what episode was that this woman was in it?
Oh, I can't remember the exact episode. I'm pretty sure it was a Christmas special because they brought in the Christmas wrapping paper for her. And we're like, there we go, we'll help you. And Val was like, did. They chick.
Well, they didn't just bring in the wrapping paper. I think they brought in the presents for her to wrap.
And mince pie and stuff. She had a kid already, yeah. She called this kid like Nicholas, didn't she?
Is this the one where she wanted to give birth in the hospital, but then she couldn't, and then Trixie gave her cashmere sweater to kneel on?
Yes. Exactly
okay. Now I'm with you.
And she was wearing like a really black, like posh couture dress, and we were like, "Why didn't you take it off first?"
Yeah, that's right. Girls,
anyway, she's in Wicked.
Oh my God, are you in love with Jonathan Bailey? I just absolutely swooned over him in that movie. In
Wicked, I'm not being funny, Jen, but who's the one who's sounding thirsty yet again?
Yeah, but is he's not new to us. We swooned over him in Bridgerton.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's just so ridiculously like, oh my God.
I don't know what it is. I'm not that into him.
I mean, I don't think he's really your type. Like, I feel like, I can see. I feel like you like a more like rockery kind of guy. You know what I mean? Like a bit more hard edges kind of a guy. And he's very.
No Desi.
I spotted. Can't wait to talk about it.
I spotted Pam Ferris, Gavin and Stacey Christmas special, sister of Angelina.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And I'll just say this, like my Call the Midwife spotting for my holiday viewing was the show Rivals. I watched Rivals all in one day on January 1st. It rung in my new year. I decided that like this was going to be the tone I was going to set for going into 2025. I want affluence. I want power. I want, charisma and, just like romantic energy out in the world. And I want big hair and I want big makeup and I want big shoulder pads.
Did you eat 12 grapes under a table at midnight?
Oh my God, no, I didn't. I couldn't get together any of my January superstitions this year. We have one in the States that I think it's a Southern tradition, but it's you eat black-eyed peas on January 1st for luck, which I try to always do it. I have not done it the past couple of years. I haven't noticed any difference in my like luck or whatever, but anyways, so I watched Rivals, and just TBH, everybody should watch Rivals. If you love dishiness, if you love drama, if you love people chewing the scenery in scenes, if you love good acting, if you love romance, if you love sexiness, if you love just like 80s, like everything, music, costumes, like style, like lifestyle. I mean, just, it's so good. Totally got sucked in. It's completely dishy and like, so just suds all around. But one of our faves. Huh?
I watched it again. I wasn't into it. Carry on.
Okay, I don't care about your opinion.
I'm editing that out.
And then the Call the Midwife, it's one of our OGs, Cynthia from Call the Midwife, plays a secretary in the show, and she's really bad. She's so catty and mean and like so un-Cynthia-like in the show, but she's so good, and it was so good, and I just loved it. And I don't, Bex, you were the one who said Denny Dyer, so there's a love story between, or a romantic, whatever you want to say, between Freddie and Lizzie. Denny Dyer is the man. I love them, and I know the woman who plays Lizzie, but I don't know where I've seen her from. Do you know where she's from?
Have you seen the IT crowd?
I've seen a few episodes of that. Is she the girl in that?
She's in that, yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh my gosh,
anyway,
they were so good.
Can we talk about Call the Midwife series?
No, not yet, because I watched Strike, the Ink Black Heart, and Peter was in it.
Wait, what?
You know the series Strike, the detective series? You've watched it, Jen.
I have?
Yeah, with Tom
Harold?
No. I wouldn't be watching it if he was in it.
I don't recognize his name.
Tom Burke. Strike.
Okay.
Anyway, it's got Peter. Chummy's Peter in it. Can we talk about series 10, episode 2 now?
Strike. CB Strike. Tom Burke.
Yeah. Do you know? I'm sure we've spoken about this.
Oh Yes, I have watched this show. I love this show. This was really good.
Guys,
Yes.
Series 10, episode 2. Can we get on to it, please?
Wait, just real quick. Is it coming back for another season?
I don't know what season you're up to.
I don't know. Okay. Anyway, we'll talk offline about it.
Series 10,
we'll talk offline about
episode 2 is what we are up to, girls.
Can I just say, it was quite a heavy intro with the Moors murderers.
I know, but I think they've done that to kind of make sure that we know exactly. Because also, people like my mum and stuff watch this. They're like, oh, I remember where I was when they did that. Like, I think it's to evoke, this is what happened that year. There's heavy stuff going on in the world.
So say what that was, because I didn't know what that was.
So the Moors murders are really heinous crime that happened in the UK. So Ian Brady and Myra Hindley they killed a load of kids in the moors up here. Yeah, it was absolutely horrendous.
The bodies on the moors, and some of the children they've still not found.
Yeah, it's just absolutely awful, like just twisted, disgusting, awful. Like it really shook Britain. We know about it. It happened in the 60s and we know about it. Do you know what I mean?
Were they serial killers?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And it was also, I think it was shocked the world. Yeah, there were a couple. I think it shocked the world as well because it was a woman involved. And I know it sounds bad, but I mean, we hate men on this podcast. It's fine.
I know. But most serial killers are men, though. Like,
well, exactly. That's exactly. Yeah.
Or maybe there's just as many women, but they're better at not getting caught.
Well,
I mean, I doubt either way you slice it. I don't think there are, but I'm just saying.
Well, I read a thing, and when I say read a thing, I saw a thing on TikTok where they were like, "Oh, everybody's got that like crazy ex-girlfriend story, but there's no like crazy ex-boyfriend stories," and they're like, "That's because the women don't survive."
Yeah.
Wow, dark turn on that one.
I know. Anyway,
but also everybody has a crazy ex-boyfriend that's like a nutbag that like they talk about to their friends, and they're like, "How did I ever date him?" And then all your friends are like, "Yeah, honestly."
But I think there's crazy and crazy.
Oh, well, yes, that's the distinction. Yeah. Yes. All right, where should we start with this one? This is a tough episode, guys.
Should we talk about the Clark family who were evicted? Because that happened right at the very start.
Yeah.
Oh.
By the way, it's really sad, and before we get to the very serious and very sad story, when they cut to Cyril and he was looking very forlorn but had his arms crossed and he was just like watching, he did look very good. And I just feel like it's important for me to say that.
Right, can I just say, listeners, Jen's complained before that she sounds really thirsty on this podcast. It's like, oh God, why do I always sound like this? You open with stuff like that.
I know. Well, listen, the journey of self-improvement continues, okay? But anyways, I just had to say it.
Find out the Clark family, they've fallen behind with the rent because the dad was working as was he driving a forklift truck or something like that?
Was it a pack? Honestly,
yeah.
I don't know if I'm thinking.
He was a truck driver, but I don't remember exactly what type.
But basically, he hurt his leg when he crashed something.
Because at the start of the Christmas special, someone got thrown out of home, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. But we're not talking about the Christmas special or that strike thing. So anyway, God's sake, guys. So anyway, Cyril was looking on forlorn, like, wanting to help him and stuff, and it was amazing. But basically, it turns out the dad of the family, we don't need to go too much into depth at this storyline. Dad of the family, where he was from originally, was an accountant, like a bookkeeper, and no one will take us on, people like us. So Cyril was like, had real sympathy.
This happens over and over, and I just think it's.
Well, I think it happened over and over.
Well, yeah, and it still happens where people are ridiculously qualified in their home countries, and then they come here, and that doesn't translate.
Yeah.
And
it happens in the US too. It's the same thing. I mean, God knows our immigration conversation over here is like totally crazy, and I won't get into it, but yeah, absolutely. Well, it's also just basically a form of discrimination. Let's just be real. It has to be. I mean, there's, like, could there be a pathway for a man with his qualifications and experience to take some kind of qualifying exam to determine his skill level and his comparable, experience in the UK so that he could achieve, a professional
probably, but it probably
whatever.
Costs ridiculous amounts of money just to, because they'll charge people stuff because they're desperate.
I know, but I mean, like, yeah, but then, and I'll say this storyline really, really touched me for, some specific reasons, and I felt this very acutely, and it really got to me, and I will say it was very touching, and I on a serious note about Cyril, and I love him, but I think these kind of storylines are going to be a big part in the kind of
building
personal, development of his journey, because, for people who watched all the way ahead, you know where he's going to end up professionally, but this is also the start of that journey. And so it's really actually exciting to kind of see, because now that we've watched ahead and are rewatching, this is the benefit where you're kind of like, oh, wait a minute. Okay. And so, and just him and Lucille are a great team to help this couple, but
well, not just like him and Lucille, Fred as well, because the Clark family go and live in the most, it's a hovel. Let's be honest. It's the worst place you've ever seen in your life.
And it's literally open to the elements.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll just say, I would think that this is pretty much the same for the UK, but the definition of chronic homelessness is, or the definition of homelessness is living, either, outside, completely outside, living somewhere that's not suitable for human habitation, which could mean an interior structure, but not appropriate, living in a vehicle and things like that. And then, for certain durations of time, I think it's, like, I know this, but I can't remember exactly right now, but it's like more than, 3 months, every day, and then usually there's some kind of other qualifying diagnosis that can go along with it as well. But
you could literally look out of the moonlight from the roof, like it was horrendous.
Yeah, it was bad. But the thing that the reason why Fred gets involved is because Cyril and Lucille go shopping for them at the newsagents. They say something to him about who they're shopping for, and Fred gets very, he's like caught up. He's like, oh my gosh, that's terrible, it's terrible. And then Cyril opens his wallet to take money out to go pay, and Fred's like, no, mate, I can't have you do that. And then when Violet finds the list that Fred has been keeping by the till of all the people
on the tick.
Yeah, the people that like quote owe the money because they didn't have the money at the time to pay for the things they bought. She's, she kind of admonishes him and is like, we're not going to have any money if you keep giving everything away for free. And he's like, no, but you just got to see this family. And well, now I'm just telling it. But anyway, I won't.
Well, so he takes her and she goes.
He's like, just come with me to see this family and you'll understand. And she's like, oh, okay. And they go. Anyway.
And she's like, and they're like, thank you so much. She was like, you are most welcome. And he's like, please let me give you something. He's like, we will not hear of it. You're in the East End now, and in the East End, what we have, we share. And at the end of this whole thing as well, they've got the tick list and she's adding to it as well. That's another thing I really loved about that.
I know.
Well, then Cyril's cooking as well, isn't he, for her? Did you like the Cyril cooking scene? I bet you did.
Yeah.
In the house. Yes. Yeah. And then also, you guys, he was ironing.
Yeah. I mean, my husband does the ironing in my house, I don't. But Cyril sorted a suit for Mr. Clark, which was so good for an interview.
They helped him get a job interview for a bookkeeping position at a dry cleaners.
Now, this did annoy me by Mr. Clark, because he said to his wife, she was like, oh, you look like a gentleman again. And he was like, I have been helped by one again. But no, you haven't, mate. You've been helped by two. You've been helped by Cyril and Fred.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was, and it gave us the feeling that, like, okay, if he can just get the job, then that'll give him the income to get back on their feet, and then they're going to be okay. And it did really work out. As we know, it's obviously not always that easy, but it was really nice to see that social issue highlighted.
Yeah.
And
I definitely agree. I definitely think this is to highlight Cyril's aspirations for the future.
Yeah. Well, I'll just say this super fast. I'm not going to go into a whole long thing, but just like when you start to see those kind of things and have those experiences, and you just think there's got to be a better way to help, or there's got to be a better way to do this, or I want to be a part of the work that's being done to help this. I mean, that's just really powerful. Personal evolution, I deeply relate. Anyway, I just loved it. I really love Cyril and Lucille working as a team. And I just love Fred getting involved. I mean, he was wearing his like work
and
coat
Violet.
thing.
It was just
it's
a community.
And she's important to be a part of it because she's on the council. Yeah. So I mean, that's the kind of people that need to know about these issues. Let's just be real.
Yeah. So seamlessly from the suit to other clothing, could we just talk really quick about Sister Mildred ringing up and being like, oh, did she send a letter? She didn't ring up, did she?
She wrote a letter. Julienne read.
The cost of this frivolity was immense. Yes, it was. They all lost their minds for a minute.
What?
They've been scrimping and scraping.
And then splurged on this material and me.
Splurged on this ridiculous, which hasn't led to anything.
Oh, I thought Vi would have given them a deal.
She probably did, but for Sister Mildred, Mother Mildred, she was probably like, this is too much. I love the contrast, though, between Sister Hilda looking absolutely really upset, crestfallen, and Sister Frances looking over bloody joyed.
I know. Sister Frances was like, thank God, no pun intended,
But those outfits made their way to the charity box. I mean, imagine them being passed on to you.
Oh, I thought they were nice. I mean, I'd be happy to get those clothes if I were them.
I'd like to have seen a scene of Mrs. Clark wearing one.
Yeah, so new uniforms were Nick's, which I mean, bummer, honestly, but
can I just say, well, clothes-wise, there was a big sailor theme this episode.
There were, and terrible, terrible baby hats. Terrible ones.
Yeah.
Really fluffy boy hats.
Oh my God,
awful.
Jaunty's hat was
but also, I don't know if you
crazy.
noticed any of the extras today. There was a what's the word? There was loads of extras that I've seen, but they were all wearing like one was bright orange, one was bright yellow with a baker's cap on, like like a baker cap. Like I was just like, what? Why? Where's all these? I know it's like the 60s now and all that, but this is a bit much.
Yeah, we're getting into like all the technicolors and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
We move on to my true love. Should we talk about the Aylwards? Well, Matthew is also my true love.
I was just like, oh my God. Sure. Yeah, well, actually, the Aylwards, I think we should talk about first because they have a sad ending, and then the O'Malleys have a good ending. So yeah, let's talk about the Aylwards first.
Fiona Aylward being readmitted. So she's had John C. She's been at home for 3 weeks or so, do we say?
At most.
It's been a couple of weeks, yeah. But she's kind of been at home with him. She's got into a bit of a routine with him. That's what she was saying. She misses the routine. And she's readmitted into the maternity hospital because Matthew rings up and he's like, there's something not right. She collapsed. Like, something's not going on here. So Mr. Scarisbrick was saying that bring her in, readmit her.
Yeah, we'll take care of her.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like a post-birth complication,
About Mr. Scarisbrick. When you see the doctors in the London, they're always really just haughty and like
arrogant.
Yeah, they're just not nice. And
aloof.
I will say for Mr. Scarisbrick, he was lovely because when he talks to Trixie about the fact that Fiona Aylward's going to be readmitted, he says that she's really tearful. So let's give her lots of reassurance.
Yeah,
like it's just like in shock. Like I know it didn't work out eventually, but he was a nice doctor.
He was, and actually,
even though he was breaking the law and performing illegal abortions.
But I know we're gonna have to talk about that part, but actually I want to come back to this point, Bex, when we talk about that part, because I feel like it's really worthwhile. The thing, and this is kind of a small note, but like the thing that made me, I mean, again, it was a very serious part of the storyline, but it made me lol. Like his desk literally had a teacup on it. Like Dr. Turner's desk is always covered, like to piles, like on, and this man's desk.
And that's
always
private. This is public for you. Do you know what I mean?
I'm telling you what, like he literally had and I like even the hot water bottle that he always warms his hands with wasn't even pictured. It was like off screen or something. And he was just so like, yeah, he was nonplussed. But can I just say also, and I loved the woman who played Fiona. I loved her the first episode, and I thought she was so great in this episode. I think she's so beautiful. She seems so sweet. Like her chemistry with Trixie in those 2 episodes is as good as the chemistry that Trixie is going to have with Matthew. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because
like,
I don't think Fiona and Matthew, I don't feel the chemistry there.
Oh, okay. I don't know. It didn't strike me in any type of way because I honestly like Fiona is with Trixie in scenes more than she's with her husband. Like Matthew is kind of not really like that with her that much.
When you know that
in the 2 episodes,
when you know what's going to happen with Matthew and Trixie,
yeah,
it kind of feels a bit
wrong.
Yeah, wrong.
You know what I thought was wrong? Fiona's mum and dad didn't say a word. They were just brought in as extras. They didn't even like
just in the back of the room.
Well, they just sat by her and just didn't even shed a tear. I was like, ma'am, if you're not going to speak, can you at least be like bawling your eyes out that your beautiful daughter
also
is like,
at least acknowledge your son-in-law, go to give him a hug or something. Like it was just weird.
Or hold the grandchild. You know what I mean? Like something. It was very like oh, I guess this is who has to be here at this time. And then they just were like, oops, okay, we're going to bring somebody in. It just was so weird.
I'll tell you what though, I will say this. So there's a line that Fiona Aylward says about because he's like, oh, she's been off her food, and he's like, I made beef stroganoff, and thought a bit ambitious. She was like, yeah, more cordoned off than cordon bleu. I thought I'm using that. So anyway, Fiona has a big rash. We've not actually spoken about what's actually happened with her. So
she's exhausted. She's like, and she's sleeping, and Trixie comes in and takes
zero energy, a big rash. Trixie's thinking sepsis. The doctor's thinking sepsis.
She's got a temperature. She's pyrexic.
You love that term, yeah.
Yeah, they're
Matthew's
doing blood
all
work.
Flustered, worried. Then she collapses again. And Trixie's so lovely talking about her dignity and stuff. I do have to say the scenes between those two, you're right, they were absolutely gorgeous between Trixie and Fiona.
Yeah.
Now, can I ask a question? Do you think Heidi Thomas had in mind that Trixie and Matthew would get together at this point?
Oh, okay, let's talk about it. What do we think? I actually have a question myself.
Do you think they brought in Matthew as this like character with Fiona Aylward, and then they were like, he fits in very nicely, like let's keep
we're seeing some magical moments between him and Trixie.
That she does anything by accident. I think stuff had been planned out for months and years in advance.
Even with her, like, where did Val go? Where did Jane go?
Yeah, but that's because people, but those people leave. Like they might have, look, they're actresses and actors who want to leave. I think for stuff that people are coming in, I think she would have planned it.
I'll say this. I don't know that I really am like so strong on whatever, but the reason I think it probably was pre-planned is because the Nonnatus house is in crisis, so they need money, they need security, right?
Yeah,
Trixie's been a long-standing beloved character who's never had a true love match that, you know, we've all been hoping for.
And also normally stories are resolved in one episode. This one's an extra episode afterwards that they die in to make it more convenient. Sorry, carry on.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it expands, you know, kind of like the connection that we feel to this family, and like also the opportunity that Trixie has to, yeah, exactly. So to me, and I can't remember, but I feel like it's not that long before Matthew comes back again as like a grieving widow, that he, you know, because I think he wants to like there's some other reason why Trixie and him are connected. I think she gives him like some baby stuff or comes by and helps him with, because he's a new dad, he doesn't know what he's doing or whatever. But then he sends her, I'll never forget this, he sends her like, this is in a future episode, like professional flowers, because like he doesn't want to be inappropriate, but he wants to send her like, or like, what is he used the term like platonic flowers or something. But anyways, long story short, but because he's so rich, because he's kind of tenderhearted because of this whole experience he's had, because he knows, you know, like, and then it all starts to seamlessly tie in with like things that are going on in the future that I try not to spoil too bad. I think in this case, it makes sense that Hayden Titus to be like, I can do a lot with this character, so I'm gonna make him into a thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's so, I don't know, like the more you think about it, the fact that Trixie marries Matthew, but she wrote the letter that Fiona wrote.
I've written that here.
But guys, here's the thing. And I remember the first time I started to hear about this phenomenon, I was like shocked. But here's the thing. A lot, like, this happens a lot in professions that are very lethal, you know, like sometimes military, sometimes firefighters, sometimes police, you know, different things like that, where when a spouse, even the president's son, like Hunter Biden and Beau Biden, okay? When a partner passes away, oftentimes, not always, but enough that it's not just a coincidence, someone very, 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 very close to the partner and then the couple will be the next romantic partner of the person left behind. Like a wife will marry a brother of her husband, you know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Didn't this happen with a lot of 9/11 firefighters?
I think it probably did, honestly. It is a phenomenon. It is a thing that happens to people.
It used to be illegal to marry your brother's wife.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to. My brother doesn't have a wife, so I'm all right. So yeah, but you're right though. That letter was like, I thought it was a lovely scene and touching, but then I thought you're literally writing permission to marry you yourself, even though you don't know it. It was weird.
Well, no,
also, can we talk? So
she had that way.
He had a hematoma. I know, but from what we know, do you see what I mean? Like at the time, it wouldn't have been.
We know too much.
Yeah, we do know too much. So anyway, Mr. Scarisbrick sorts out a bone marrow test.
Oh my God.
Consulting with a hematologist.
Horrendous.
I put Christ on the bike.
They couldn't have picked any other place to take the bone marrow from.
No, they do a lumbar puncture. That's what you do. That's what they still do.
Yeah, but I thought they normally do it through someone's back. I thought
lumbar was in your lower back, not
I thought they didn't do it in the lower back. I couldn't look.
No, it was literally right here. It was right here.
Oh,
they were like, look to the flowers. She had on a gown with a hole cut in the front of it.
Oh no, I couldn't look.
You'd have to do it through my back so that you could hold me down and stop me from like clawing at you.
Well, she was also so. I'm like, did you anesthetize this woman? Like, just the whole thing was.
Well, she was very stoic about it. But then they got baby Jonathan in because she was just like, oh. But then when she actually found out that she had acute myeloid leukemia, Matthew basically fell apart and was just like trying to blame everyone and everyone. But Fiona was just so calm. She was just like, I just want to hold my baby. She was just like, oh God, it was just absolutely, it was just so moving. So moving.
Do you know who I thought was a bit harsh was Lucille? Because there's a bit where Lucille's talking to Trixie and she says, yeah, if she's not responding, just let nature take its course.
Oh, and then I did like the way Trixie was obviously quite affected and upset by it. And she was just like, it's just mad that no amount of money can make Fiona Railwood better, despite the fact they've seen such disparity between the births that she normally is used to in this hospital.
But that was a point that Lucille made that was very good, which is sometimes it doesn't, when there's certain things in life, it doesn't matter how rich you are or as poor you are, we're all as rich as poor as each other.
Health is wealth.
Yeah, true though.
Also,
it is true.
I always think of Michael Schumacher. All the money in the world can't fix you.
Yeah.
What happened to Michael Schumacher? What happened to him?
He had a ski accident. He's really not he's not well.
Oh, well, I
Yeah.
mean, listen, Steve Jobs, right? Like classic. He's literally one of the richest men on earth. He gets cancer, and there you go.
Yeah. So anyway, Fiona worsens and worsens very quickly.
Can I
And
say there's some excellent breathing acting?
there really
I know.
was. She was a
I
brilliant
know.
actress.
Oh, I
And
thought she was amazing. I was so honestly, I was sad that her storyline was what it was because I
same.
would have really just liked to see her more. Like I would have liked for her and Trixie to be friends longer. Like
Yeah.
they just were, the part where they were coming in and she had been like they had been talking earlier about journaling and Fiona was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, my journals are so boring." She's like, "I may seem like I'm this like racy like London socialite lady,
But I'm
but
dead
I'm
old
really just."
fashioned.
I'm
Yeah.
really old-fashioned inside, and Trixie was like, "Well, actually, I'm the same way," which was another like,
Yeah.
tick mark in the, the reason why it's gonna. And so they just got on, and the way they were like joking back and forth with each other, and like talking about going out on the town later, and da, 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 it was just like. And then when she came in and she was writing the letter, and Trixie was like, "Just let it all out, babe. Like we can edit, we can refine it. Like, like it was just I just they just clicked. I just loved it. Like.
It was beautiful. And then obviously she went really, really downhill. She wasn't waking up. And then Matthew with her mute parents in the background was just
Yeah.
like, darling, if
Mute,
you need to go,
unemotional parents.
Oh,
yeah,
he
if you
did,
need
you
to
guys,
go,
he did
go.
such a good
He did. Don't
job
worry
in
about
that
anything.
scene.
I cried my eyes out.
Oh, when his tears were just coming down, he was like, "I know you don't want to leave," but he's like, "You can go." Like he's like, "We'll be okay." And he was wearing that like the sweater, and he was like, it was like the softer side, you know what I mean? And you could just tell like how vulnerable he was. He didn't have the suit on anymore. He wasn't kind of like this big, powerful guy, and he was just like his face, and he was crying, and he just, I mean, you know what he was like? He was like Tom with Barbara.
No.
You know what I
Don't
mean?
put
Like
that
it,
scene in my
like he
brain.
really, it's something really like he really acted so, not acted so he did a great job acting in that scene is what I mean to say.
He
And then when
did.
he walked outside and
So
Trixie
did
was
she, to be
holding,
fair. It was believable.
oh, absolutely. Oh my God, he seemed totally bereft. And then
No, but
and then when he
she
walked
seemed
out,
totally dying. She really acted it well.
she really did. I mean, there was like a legitimate last breath. I mean, which
Yeah.
you didn't have in that way, but like it was very dramatic. I mean, yeah, it was seamless. It was seamless. Oh my God, it was. Oh, and then when he held the baby, oh, I just.
So Trixie obviously gives Matthew the letter, and Matthew's trying to decide if he wants to read it now or not, or whatever.
Okay.
I think best not. Read it.
Definitely don't read it now.
Read it in privacy because you're gonna become a blubbery mess. And
Yeah,
it
but you
maybe
say that, Bex, but you're the nosiest person I know.
I know.
You'd be like, oh, hang
Yeah,
on.
don't read it. Don't
I'd
read
be
it
like, let
now.
me read it to you.
Also, isn't it hot in here? Don't you want to take that sweater off?
So then there was that bit as well in the thing. So while we're wrapping up the Matthew whole thing, so he's on the phone to Trixie, and he's like saying he has to go to the funeral. Do you know I found it weird that Trixie wasn't invited to the funeral as well?
Yeah.
Is that weird?
Well, wait, was she not invited? Oh, she said, "I wish I could go too." So but I didn't know if she maybe just couldn't. She was working.
Oh, I don't know because she wasn't in uniform, or maybe she was. So anyway,
You know
he
what?
says he doesn't want to hang up, and I thought, is this one of them moments where like, oh, you hang up, no, you hang up,
Yeah.
yeah, foreshadowing, and then she just hung up, and and he was like, oh,
Mm.
But
It's fun.
knowing what we know now, it's a bit like that letter is going to be written in Trixie's handwriting. His
yeah,
new wife has written the letter from his dead wife.
to give permission to marry someone else. And what gets me here is like, how does he know that that's actually Fiona's words? That could be in another film. I'm not saying this did happen because it didn't, because it's Trixie, because we know Trixie's got good character and stuff. But in
Yeah.
other films, that's the kind of thing that's like a plot of like,
Single wife
oh,
female.
yeah, like her handwriting's like, you can
What's
marry
that?
someone, be happy. Like, but Fiona's like, I don't ever want him to meet anyone else. Like, do you know what I mean?
What's that movie? It's like The Hand That Rocks the Cradle or like What Lies
Yeah.
Beneath or something. It's like, oh, like like it seems like, I'm not really gonna like, whatever. And then it turns out to be a different way. But the thing is, I mean, obviously on the show, there's not any of that
Yeah,
subtext. And
yeah.
like Trixie could never have known.
It is weird though, and I'm not saying it's wrong. It's not wrong. At the time, there was nothing untoward going on. We know that. But it is mental that she's literally writing a letter with permission for her to marry him in the future. Like, it's just weird.
That's
Now,
not
do you
what the
think-
letter is, though.
It is,
But
though,
do you
isn't it?
that's not
It's
we don't know
not.
what like do we don't even know, do we?
It's a goodbye letter. It's a letter that says, like, I know I'm not going to be here for very long. Like, I'm going to say the things that I want to say because I know this is
Yeah,
like my
but a
last
lot of
chance.
people in these things, especially in Call the Midwife, say stuff like, please don't think you have to have no life for me. I'd love for you to remarry, that kind of stuff. Can I
Would
just say
you
now, this is my record right now for my husband. No,
Yeah.
don't worry. I don't want you marrying someone who's written a letter saying that I do want you to marry it. And if you get a letter in someone else's handwriting saying that I've given permission, it's wrong.
No, what I would also do, I would be one of those people who's done a birthday card, a birthday present, a Christmas card, a Christmas present for a wedding, present for babies,
21st letter,
21st.
Kind of stuff. Yeah.
She didn't have time,
Here's a letter
guys.
She
didn't
down.
have time for any of that.
Do you know what? This is a really horrible. I'm just going to say this now. My grandma died when I was 20, and I was the only grandchild. Well, my brother obviously got a 21st, but she'd already bought my 21st present. And she had a letter and everything, and she'd done me this gorgeous thing, but obviously it was well before my 21st. And I was like really, really pleased that happened for me, but I felt really bad for the others. But it's really lovely. I've got my wedding photo in that photo frame. She gave me a silver Chelsea frame, and it is lovely that I had that. I feel really bad for my cousins. I'm really sorry if any of you listening you didn't get that, but me and Liam did. So
you're older though. You're older.
Yeah, we're older.
Yeah,
better. So then. I'm not going to keep them. That's terrible.
Someone I work with.
I won't mean it. I love them all.
Someone I work with went on holiday with a gran at Christmas, and they've had tattooed in a Nan's handwriting on her wrist, Nan's favourite.
Oh, that's actually amazing.
Oh,
like that's the kind of thing Bob's will probably do in my dad's writing, even though she's his only grandchild, but she is his favourite.
That's fine if you're the only one.
Yeah, but I thought you meant they all had it done Nan's favourite.
No, just one.
Oh, honestly, that's awkward.
That feels
it was a
really
joke.
weirdly
Like they all had it done Nan's favourite.
No.
Oh, because I think that's a really funny joke. That's terrible.
Yeah, that doesn't.
Anyway, that was off subject.
Off piste.
I'll tell you what, the scene where Matthew walked Jonty in the park, heartwarming. Heart-wrenching.
Yeah, because
heart-wrenching.
Because quite often when a mother dies in Call the Midwife, that kid is basically being shipped off to an aunt.
Yeah. I mean, we do know that it's just literally with a nanny for most of the time, but
yeah, we do. But I mean, the thing is, like, I will say, like, I think this whole storyline just happened so fast. Like, I know it didn't happen that fast and that it happened over 2 episodes and everything, but I forgot when I watched it this time how quickly she got, like, because they're like, she comes in, she's sick, they're doing the testing, and then like midway through the episode they find out she has leukemia, and then it's like she's gone. And then they're at the funeral before, it's just like, oh gosh, like it just goes, like there's just no time for anything really, and it just all feels very, it all feels very quick. But
there is time for a letter to give permission for him to marry Trixie.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, knowing what's to come, it's like, oh, we all know where it's going. But at the time, it just felt like a very genuine, sweet, like she's just
also the stuff you've got to put in that letter. I know I keep going back to this letter, but I just think you'd say stuff like, please include my family, please make sure that my parents have a close relationship with Jonty, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
because they're not going to, because they're just going to sit silently.
Oh my God, the most silent grievers ever in the world. Which, like, everyone gets to grieve their own way, but still, they
weren't paid to speak.
He did such a good job. Like, he didn't do it. The actor that plays Matthew, did such a good job in that scene when he was sobbing by her bedside. I was so moved by him. Like, when he said, I know, he's like, you can go. He's like, we'll be okay. And all that. Oh my God, I was just absolutely. Oh my God, it was so heartbreaking. Like, I felt for him so deeply. Like, he was so shattered by her loss. Like, that really moved me. That really, really moved me.
It was moving. Yeah. Right, should we talk about the other storyline from the Sister Emily's?
Yes. Yeah. There was a lot of controversy.
So basically, the D&C, I'm doing that in inverted commas, but you can't hear that on a podcast.
So quote unquote D&C, yeah.
It's basically him performing abortions to rich women who can afford it. And Trixie's face was all like, oh my goodness, how could he? And obviously she does agree with the concept of them, but they are illegal. And it's just this big, massive dilemma for Sister Julienne.
Yeah.
So Trixie's like, well, hang on, how could you do this? Because they're nuns. And to be fair, Trixie's face was mine at the blood, like the bloods on the instruments. Oh my goodness.
Well, you would have never asked to be in the operating room. I mean, you would have never been a nurse anyway. Like, that's just not your calling in life. But I mean, so like, you would have been like, yeah,
you take this one. I'll just sit this out.
Yeah, that's exactly. Well, I'd just faint by the time the mention of it, to be honest. So Trixie went straight to Sister Julienne. Do we think she was right to?
I would have waited, considering like what difference would a night make? really.
I'm kind of with Trixie though, because I feel like because she probably had another shift the next day and stuff to go to. Sister Emily.
Those nuns are up at the crack of dawn.
That's true. Like 5 a.m. innit?
Yeah, like I personally, knowing that they were in the Great Silence,
which she broke by going to Sister Julienne right then.
But Sister Julienne, like, I don't know. I think
Sister Julienne agreed with it, but
yeah, I feel like if I was Sister Julienne, I'd be like, you were right to come to me.
And then she then went to Dr. Turner, who was very I told you so about the whole thing.
Oh, he's just been really contrite and annoying over this whole thing. It's like he's acting like he knew. Well, why didn't you bloody warn her then, mate?
Yeah. Why didn't they? And also because Sheila didn't know either.
How could I mean, they could. There's no way they could have like really known in advance. Not really.
Yeah, but Dr. Turner says to her, they all do it. So Dr. Turner knows what goes on.
I've written whatevs, Patrick. Whatevs.
Well, again, that's the kind of really annoying like boys clubbiness of it all. You know what I mean? Like, and even Dr. Turner, like, though we love him so much, like, what was her name? The lady that the one that I don't remember the medical term, but she was a woman, but then they assigned her female at birth, but then she turned out she had male sex organs, or she was, I don't know, there was something with that.
You love this storyline, Bex. Do you remember?
Yeah, and she had the boyfriend that was the fiance that was like the best man in the whole world, and he was
what was her name, Bex? Oh, I thought you'd know, sorry.
No. Okay. Just flashed like, don't ask me to recall something. They were on Recall the Midwife.
It was anyway, sorry, carry on.
Anyways, but
we should know this, shouldn't we? We're a podcast about Call the Midwife.
I agree, but I'm not bringing it up to like reference her storyline. What I'm bringing up is to say Dr. Turner was like, oh, you need to go to the hospital and get more tests and like figure out what's really going on here, so I'm going to send you to a specialist. And then she gets absolutely traumatized when she's at the doctor, and then he's like, oh, because he and Sheila are talking about it after, and he's like, oh yeah, well, I guess I should have like, known or whatever, and yeah, that sucks, but well, anyways. And Sheila was like, Patrick, you don't understand. And like, it was this very kind of like, yeah.
Yeah, because he says, I remember it, Jen, he says that
Lois
sent her to see that doctor. And it's like, well, if you thought that, why did you send her to see that doctor?
Yeah. And it's just this kind of like, he's almost like an apologist in a weird way, even though he's recriminating Sister Julienne for being involved with the organization in the first place. But the thing is, like, he's just being so smug because he didn't want her to do it at all. Remember,
yeah,
like a week ago?
He's been a complete bastard to her, to be honest, because he's had a right go at her. Then he's like, oh, I knew all along anyway. Well, you should have bloody said something at the very start of this, so he didn't have to go with this whole rigmarole. But also, like, he's an influential man in that field who needs that hole in Arta's house. So surely he should actually be trying to kick up a fuss with the council and stuff. But as far as I can see, he isn't. And I'm just like, we don't need a told you so's and like little asides of horribleness. What we need is support and help.
Well, but also, and like, I know you guys agree with me on this, but like, also like, and this can be everything from like, I'll give a silly example of the same principle, which like really irritates me. I have a friend group, okay? We used to do regular dinners. We would go out to dinner. And so we'd be like organizing it and be like, okay, well, where do we want to go? And like a lot of times like somebody would have an idea and be like, okay, great. But then like a lot of times also like someone would have an idea or someone would take it upon themselves to be the one to like offer suggestions and say like, I can make a reservation and like take all the work off the rest of us. And one of my friends in that group was like, no, I don't really like that. No, I don't really want that. But then wouldn't offer anything in place.
No, that's the kind of mood I'm in.
And this is the thing that drives me absolutely crazy. And this is what Dr. Turner is doing right now. It's like, oh, well, you shouldn't do that. Well, you can't do that. That's not right. I knew it stunk all along. Well, what do you want her to do then, sir? What would you like as an alternative? You're not giving her anything. Like, and by the way, your practice is contingent on her practice. So if you're so upset about what she's doing.
But he says in it, like, the GP's practice will survive, but the maternity home wouldn't. And he actually says at one point, like, I've come to not enjoy, but he likes the fact that they're so dependent on one another. And I was like, that's a very toxic relationship.
Well, yeah, because of the way you're making it right now, sir.
Well, especially the lack of effort you're putting in to try and help. I will say, actually, we're slagging him off here, but I will say, I did like the way at the end of this, after slagging her off and being awful the whole way around, he was good with his conciliatory, like, you cancelled the relationship on point of principle. There was no better reason for doing anything. So that was nice. It kind of had a bit of a resolution to that. I did like the fact we did it over a cup of tea as well.
Oh, and a shortbread biscuit.
Well, Julienne didn't want that, so Julienne was a woman on business. I did like the way she was like to Trixie, you will work a week's notice and we shall never speak of it again.
What did you think about rich women have access to abortions, though?
I'm all for it.
I'm torn on this because
I think it's awful that they should. I think the whole thing is just awful. That it should,
they should have access anyway, but I wouldn't deny somebody access
on a principle. I get what you're saying, but I get why Trixie would be so conflicted by the whole thing, because the whole thing is just very complicated, isn't it?
Yeah,
feelings-wise.
Well, even though you might think it's the right thing to do,
legally, it's wrong.
They don't have discretion in this. It's against the law to offer abortions.
Thing is, though, we'll say this, guys. In 2025, as it is now, this is still a discussion point. Do you know what I mean? It's not like it's that easy to, do you know what I mean? To resolve feelings of. Yeah, and I think that's what Trixie's annoyed at. Like, the doctor's kind of taking the privilege that he has to kind of do what he wants when he wants, but actually there's still legality there, and that's why I think it's just very conflicting, isn't it, the whole thing?
The reason why she can't keep the relationship with Lady Emily's is because abortion is illegal, not because abortion is not good care.
Yeah, but she doesn't even not believe that abortion is not good care. This is why it's so frustrating for her as well, isn't it?
Who doesn't believe abortion is good care?
Trixie does. I don't think Trixie believes that abortion isn't care for women. I think she's frustrated by the whole situation that rich women are getting to choose to do it and poor women aren't, and that it's still illegal. I think she's very frustrated by the whole system. And she's frustrated because she thinks the Nana's house is going to get saved, but it can't now because this has caused absolute issues with the nuns. Yes. So I just think this is whole conflicting, horrible frustration in her.
But all of us are on the same page that if Lady Emily's can provide, like, under-the-table safe abortions, that they should do it.
No, I'm joking. Actually, I'm not joking. I don't know if I am joking. I don't know is the short answer, because it is still illegal. Mm-hmm. No, I think I would still want it to, but then it's so unfair. So I'm kind of with Trixie. I'm just angry about it.
Okay. I'll just say I don't have any problem with what what's his name? Scarisbrick is doing. I don't think it's fair that only women with means have access, but I still
but I wouldn't want to take that away from people because
I still think they should get the care that they need and not be subject to harm.
But again, it's illegal. So do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I can see the whole thing is just really murky and awful, and point being, it shouldn't be. That's the issue.
To me, the legality is only an issue because of the danger that puts Nana's house in.
Right, let's go on to Jacinta.
Okay.
Mrs. O'Malley, they were like, oh, you're looking so glamorous, like a film star. She looked ridiculous, like incognito. Was just her being absolutely ridiculous in massive sunglasses, a big scarf around it. It was just absolutely ridiculous. Well, Lucille straight away was like, oh, hello, Mrs. O'Malley.
Well, it's not like she was at the market. She was literally at the clinic, like, to get a checkup. Like, did she think they were not going to recognize her? They delivered 2 other children. Come on,
I think she was just drawing more attention to herself.
She was just being so weird. She was just being so weird. But she was being so weird, like, the whole time, because then when she gets in with Sister Francis, it was like so weirdly acted, because Sister Francis was like, okay, well, let's just figure out your due date. And she was like, I know exactly when I conceived. And then Sister Francis is like, okay, so anyways.
It was really sinister, I know, exactly.
And then she's like, well, and then she's like, okay, so anyway, everything seems fine. And she's like, I don't want this baby. And she's like, well, wait, why? Like, you're married and everything. She's like, how dare you? I want someone else. And I just was like, this is coming out of absolute.
Yeah, she's like, anyway, aren't you married? And she's like, I want someone senior.
Like, you clearly don't get it, lady. And I was just like, well, no one would get it. Like,
what I really loved, though, the way Sister Francis just, like, collected herself. She was going to get someone more senior, and then she realised.
I love that.
Yeah, when she's like, I'm senior enough to deal with this. Part of me, though, is when she said she was giving the baby up, it was, Sister Francis should have been like, but you're married. Like, she should have been a bit more professional.
Yeah, I think she just I know how she meant it. Like, oh, but why are you giving it up if you're married, kind of thing. Like, it's fine. Like, because loads of people gave up when they weren't married. And then I don't think she'd added 2 and 5 to make, like, the fact that obviously it was not her husband's baby. Yeah. But what I really liked was her, like, everyone makes mistakes, and then Jacinta was like, you're preaching to the choir on that one, sister. And then they had a lovely cup of tea.
This is a little bit more than a mistake, but okay, yeah.
Maybe she fell on him, Jen.
Yes. The thing Very is, classic way to get pregnant.
In that day and age, like, there would have been families who just couldn't afford more children and would have given them up for adoption.
Well, we saw that Laura, didn't we? Who tried to have an abortion.
Yeah.
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 So
I don't know.
Sister Francis, she should have been a bit more.
Like this one was just like a weird, like tonally, this was just a strange storyline because even then, like Sister Frances, like, because then when we were saying that like Mrs. O'Malley is like, oh, you know, you and I, like, so Sister Frances patches it over. They go have a cup of tea and talk, and basically what Sister Frances finds out is that her husband is a guy who goes out to sea for months at a time, and she's like, a girl gets lonely, doesn't she? And Sister Frances is like, I mean,
No
I
idea.
guess. and then they kind of like finish up their conversation. She's like, wow, just look at us, like we're the same age, we chose such different paths and everything. And Sister Frances is like, whoa, wait a minute.
When they said the same age, I was like, you're kidding. She's
I was
about
like,
8 years older.
There's no way y'all are the same age. Absolutely no way. And so then Sister Frances goes on this journey of like trying to figure out what it's like to, quote, not be a nun because she thinks that she needs
I will say this,
like,
actually. Nurse Crane was very
empathy.
supportive of that. That was like kind of Nurse Crane's idea with her.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, actually, for once, Nurse Crane's being supportive of Sister Frances, and I supported that. Sorry, Karen.
Yeah, I liked it. But then I will say, and just this is a slight jump, is that then like for the rest of the storyline, Sister Frances was a little bit too supportive, I think, of Mrs. O'Malley. And I was like, you're not modulating this very well.
She goes up the 1,000 stairs because the lift's not working, right? And she's taking some iron tablets. And she's like, maybe he'd understand. Like, she's so earnest about it. And I thought, have you ever met a man, Sister Frances? Like, maybe he'd understand. And then she was like, his own family sister. And she's like, oh, right, okay, fair enough. And then she did this big speech about a mum being like, my mum abandoned me and all this. And she's like, guess the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And
they're both Irish, by the way. I feel like that's important for people to say.
You're not talking about amazing accent. I literally thought Jacinta was in the room with us guys. So then there's this whole thing. So my point is, you try to get in a bit more context of the story behind it all.
Right,
and Sister Frances is being, very understanding, a bit too, right? And then there's mold on the walls, right? And
can I just say about the tower blocks? Everybody was like, oh, this is amazing. We're moving into tower blocks. I said they're not going to be all they're cracked up to be.
You did. You told me
public housing never is. Public housing never is.
But she's also cleaning because she feels dirty.
Yes.
Yeah, which is definitely psychological. Yeah.
Well, also not just that, the mold is rank. So she's like cleaning anyway.
I'm Team Desi.
So anyway, this is your husband, isn't it? Come on, this is the big one for you. So
yeah, absolutely.
Context. Bex, in our 100th episode, we did about like the fittest dads and stuff. I think the husband here is the fittest dad for Bex. And do you still stand it by it, Bex?
Yeah, I do. When he got out that bath.
Yeah. Y'all think I'm thirsty. Bex has got nothing on me, I'll tell you that. Or I've got nothing on Bex.
Something like struggling into that wool jumper. Like, because when you've got out of the bath, you're so hot and a bit clammy still, aren't you?
He put a vest on as well. Why are you putting a vest on as well? Just put your vest on.
And I think he had jeans on. I like jeans aren't easy to get on after a bath.
They were definitely thick, hard pants that he got on for sure.
Well, anyway, we're not there yet. We're not at that scene.
We're not there yet. Yeah.
So anyway, there's mold on the wall. They're talking about mold, and suddenly they're in the kitchen thinking they're alone, and suddenly the husband comes home. Oh my God, I jumped. I did like it was a jump shot.
Can you imagine the panic? Like you just want the ground to open up.
And the kids are like, Daddy, and Sister Frances is in the kitchen with the door closed with Jacinta. And Jacinta goes into what I can only describe as the worst reaction I've ever seen of anyone ever. She just froze and stood there, turned to the wall like something out of, what's that film where they all turn in the corner?
Like that horror
Blair Witch Project. She's just there in the corner. It was just absolutely ridiculous. And then he comes in. He's Irish, by the way. Just, because you will get it from my accent, but Jen wants to warn you. Do I not even get hello? What's going on? What's going on? Why won't my wife turn around? And then she turns around. Now, Becky, I'm going to let you say this line. What does he say when she turns around?
And he sees her belly.
He calls her a dirty little tart.
See why you like
Bex was so into it. She was like,
you dirty little tart. Well, it's not mine, is it? And then, right, Sister Frances is like, we all need to calm down. I'm going to call the police or something if you say anything. And he says, shut your hole to Sister Frances.
But I think that was a very polite way of saying that.
I mean, he didn't curse, but...
Shut your hole to a nun. No, Bex, I dare you to say that to a nun.
And Sister Frances goes too far. She's like, if you've not got any sympathy for your wife, she's a good woman. She's cheated on him. Like, she might say that she's been lonely, but he's been at sea for the same amount of time.
Absolutely.
Well, I will say this. Well, maybe he's had that cursed in. Do you remember?
I know. The ship's woman. Oh my God, don't remind us of that.
I will say though, before she said about having no sympathy for your wife, Mr. O'Malley, Desi does say, because he's called Desi by the way, says she's damaged goods and the courts would give him custody, right? Now Francis tries to stick up for Jacinta and then like saying, have you got no sympathy for your wife? And I was a bit like, read the room here, love.
Well,
like
she says, I know this feels like a betrayal. And he goes, it is a betrayal.
Yeah, he's
and
not bloody wrong though, is he?
No, he's exactly right. He's exactly right. He's exactly right. I mean, look, like, remember the storyline with the Indian family or I don't know if I don't know if maybe they were Pakistani. I can't remember, but the guy came back from a trip and he had a pregnant new lady.
Oh, yes.
And his first wife had to just like accept, it's just like, well, anyways, I brought my new pregnant
16-year-old cousin pregnant.
Yeah, yeah. It like, I mean, this is basically the gender flip of that. Like, I just was like, and I mean, I liked her, but I was just like, oh man, I'm like, you were just so in the wrong. Like, you really couldn't be any more in the wrong.
Yeah, but the other thing that annoyed me was she was like, oh, the kids are so well when they were talking about logistics of it all with Sister Francis at first, she was like, the kids are tiny, they won't remember. The kids are like 7 and 8. And like she's like, oh, they won't remember any of this, blah blah blah. So anyway, so she's like, oh, they won't know anything that's going on. She starts giving birth. She starts going into labor so loudly. I'm like, if you're trying to keep this from your children and stop it being, she's like screaming, crying. Then he's in the bath thinking he's listening to a song which was Dead End Street by the Kinks, which I thought was actually genius. So he's in the bath and he's listening to music in the bath, which is that, and then he's like tries to drown it out, but then he realizes something goes. So then it's the infamous Becky's loving scene, where he puts his jumper on, and she has this baby on the bed, like to put it.
Can I just say he is very sweet because he's sweet with the girls because he doesn't shout at them when he tells them to go back to bed and they don't. He's like he's a very good dad.
Yeah, and also I will say he would be pretty angry and emotional at that point, and he also rang the artist's house.
Yeah.
And then he realizes she's had the baby, and Desi goes in, and he's like,
this was horrible. This was horrible. Because literally she's laying on the bed on her side with the baby out of her at the butt end of her. It was so, I'm sorry. Well, no, I mean, literally the baby, well, yeah, vagina too, but like literally like the baby was right at her butt. I mean, like that's where the baby was like kind of just fell out, I guess, or whatever. Oh, it was so gross. It was so gross. I'm sorry.
So he took his jumper off that he just put on, and he had a vest on underneath as well. So he took the time to put a vest on, then a jumper on, some hard trousers. And he took a jumper off to rub the baby's back. And
I just wonder if they didn't want him to be shirtless in that. I just wonder if they didn't want him to be shirtless.
I don't know.
I wouldn't know.
I was a bit like, that's a lot of clothes.
I know. You've been robbed, Bex, honestly. Like, he should have had, like, zero top on, but anyway.
So I do have to say, it was amazing. But anyway, the baby starts crying, and he's
you can tell he's overwhelmed.
He's like in shock. Yeah. He's like in shock.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's a boy. They've got 2 girls. They always want a boy.
He wanted a boy.
That's just
girls, why didn't she just lie about when she conceived this baby?
Because she says that he came back.
Yeah, like she had the affair, he came back, and she was newly pregnant, so she didn't really show at all. She should have like been with him then, and then he goes to sea, and then she's been wearing a girdle anyway. She shouldn't look that pregnant. And then he comes home, and she's just like, "Oh, I'm giving birth now. The baby's coming early." Surprise,
she could have just gone into panic mode. It's too soon. It's too soon.
She absolutely should have just lied about this.
Lied to her husband about this.
So you would rather, Alex, give your child up for adoption than lie about its parentage?
Or just been like, this ain't yours, but it's staying here with me. Ciao.
No.
Yeah, but listen, if you say newly, like 1 month, 3 months, you can't. I'm sorry.
I don't think it was 3. I don't think it
wasn't 3.
How do you know it wasn't 3?
I just wasn't getting 3 months.
If it was 4 weeks. I mean, even then I couldn't do that. You can't do that.
No, but the thing is, think about it.
Julienne has said it herself. It won't be the first baby that's.
I'm sorry, I've got higher morals than a nun here, but I don't think you should lie. Try and pass someone else's child.
No one's encouraging lying, but like, just think about it. Like the realistic.
You're trying to pass off someone's child. That is a lie, Jen.
No, but I'm saying in the grand scheme of things, like she already did the bad thing. Like that's done. Like you're like having it come out and having him go through all of that is only hurting him. Like it's not, like she's absolved at that point because then even like after the baby comes and she's like, well, what are you gonna do now? You're really gonna like really gonna toss this baby away and everything, like knowing that he has like a heart and he like feels bad and everything and like won't do that because now he's like is attached to this baby. And then when he gets ready to leave and he's like, okay, he's like, well, I'll be back. I'll see the 4 of you. Meaning like her and the 3 kids. And it's like, well, she got everything she wanted out of this,
And also, she didn't have the power to be, well, I'm keeping the baby, because if he had have divorced her, like he says it himself, like the courts would have seen her as an unfit mother. She couldn't have even had a bank account.
Yeah, well, so it did work out, her not knowing, because then, so he did know, and then she still kept the baby, so it's all worked out.
What do you mean?
Because he was such a lovely guy. But what I'm saying is,
she should have had that burden to carry herself, I think.
I don't think lying, I just don't think it's nice. Although I will say this.
I don't agree with lying either, but I'm just saying, like, you've already betrayed your partner. Like, you're just compounding the hurt. Like, telling the truth really in that situation is for your guilt, not because you want to, like, help your partner out. Like, your partner knowing that you've done that.
He knew it wasn't his as soon as he saw her. So I think you two are wrong about the dates.
Well, no. I definitely it was 4 weeks. I've got no idea. And none of us know. But what I'm saying is, in that day and age, she had so much to lose if he hadn't have reacted the way he did.
Also, I'll just say this too, like, from everything I've heard from women who've had multiple babies, is that, like, after the first or second one, like, then you start showing so early because everything just pops out so quick.
Yeah, but if he's not seen her for, like, 12 months.
But we know it's not 12 months.
It's not 12 months, but it's like the better part of a pregnancy term.
The only thing that's making me think, though, guys, you're like, oh, she should lie. That's not making me think that. That's making me think, how the hell couldn't she wait? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's another point. It's not been that long. She should have.
Also, the other thing is, I always think this in scenes. The baby was in the drawer and he kind of did this weird creep walk into it. I thought, oh my God, he's going to go and kill it. Like, I don't know why I always think this.
You always think the baby is going to get thrown.
Yeah. Anyway, point being, he was like, I'll see you when I get back. All 4 of you. And she was like, oh, Desi.
He was really nice. He was really nice.
Really quick, can we just skim over the fact that Mojo thinks she doesn't believe in God anymore?
I'm sorry.
That's all we need to mention about it.
Yeah, I'm not. That's fine. I'm not.
Do you know what I did respect her for, though? When at the start, where Sister Julienne said Mother Mildred has sent a letter, she's like, do you want to come and listen to me read it? And she was like, no, I don't.
I feel like either this storyline is like either make it something or make it nothing, but like to me, like just this attitude that she has and all these like supporting scenes just isn't working for me. That's my and I know I'm being very cold-hearted about that, so I'm owning it.
Yeah. Fine.
Should we do?
I just want to say as well, I really love the magazines thing. Love that for Sister Julienne, letting her have it done. Right. Should we do?
Oh, I will just say on the magazines, I love the fact that Vi's read all of those magazines. That is also something that I love, reading magazines in the shops.
Well, I just love Sister Julienne being like, you can only read 1 a week in the common room during public hour. In your room, no, not at all, not in private. And it's just like, okay, lady, I don't know what the difference is, but okay.
I like it.
Yeah.
Right, should we heroes
it's like
and zeros?
You can have them, but not enjoy them too much. Yes, heroes and zeros. You guys go.
My hero is obviously Desi.
He did say
I love it. I love it, Bex. Yeah. I'm here for this.
And my zero is going to be Jacinta.
I mean, fair.
She does not deserve him.
Him and his damp, clammy sweater that he wears. Alec, you go.
My zero, do you know, I was going to do Sister Frances for the first time ever and probably only time ever because I just think she was just so ridiculous to Desi. I'm going to stand by it. To Desi, I just think she was absolutely ridiculous with the way she treated him. Like, I know she was trying to be there for her patient, but she went way too she tipped the scales way too
so much. Yeah.
And then my hero is going to be Fiona.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love Fiona. Yeah. I love Fiona.
Yeah.
She's like one of the best ladies.
Yeah.
Oh,
reminds me a lot of myself. Carry on, Jen.
Oh my gosh. Okay. My zero is gonna be just like how sad it was when Fiona died. I know I talked about this earlier, but when Trixie and her were just bonding and like laughing, like they were just such great gal pals, and I just could tell that like, I mean, if Fiona had survived, like they would have been friends. I really think they would have been friends. I love their friendship, and I really think that, you know, like Matthew, like he was so sad. I mean, it was just such a sad ending for that beautiful lady, and I was really heartbroken that happened to her. And then my hero is gonna be Cyril, because this is the foundation of the rest of this is the first, like the beginning of him on his journey, and I'm here for that.
Or is it Cyril in the same way that mine is Desi?
I mean, it's always that. It's gonna be always that for me.
Well, you guys know for that.
I mean, I already said, like, when he had his arms crossed and he was wearing that sweater, and I just was like, woo. So.
Right, so thank you so much for listening, everyone. Next week, we are doing Series 10, Episode 3. Follow us online, all that stuff. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.